All right. We live with the general family. Y'all already know what time it is. Black Power is the true power with General Seti. Step, kick back, get your mind ready for some information that's guaranteed to be heavy. All right, family. Make sure y'all get over there to Patreon. We got the five for you right now. Over 600 exclusive live streams. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, like it because you love it, because you know it's off the chain. Today, we're going to be talking about, man, Islamic nationals, hear me out, that are silently gaining, political power over here in the United States, especially over there in, around Detroit, and other areas too that I'm seeing, but Michigan, Minnesota, because you already know you got the Somalis, over there, they're getting gaining some seats, some traction in Virginia, Georgia, Texas, Illinois, California, New Jersey, Colorado, Pennsylvania. Yeah, so they get in their little enclave, like, and that's what's happening over there in Europe, where they get in them enclaves and they take control. Here it is, Hamtramck. Now, when I was coming up, Hamtramck, it wasn't black, it was Polish, and hey, and I remember before, Hamtramck, now Hamtramck sit inside of Detroit. It sits inside of Detroit. And so for most of the time that I knew, Hamtramck was Polish. And I remember even back in the 90s and 90s, they was beefing with them Arabs about, when they were Muslims. I'm Arab, Muslim, because they started building minarets, mosque over there in the Polish, and most of them Polish over there, they was older and shit, but they held it down for a very long time. And I used to remember them arguing about the fact that they would be, when they had a call for prayer, you can hear them, over there, and and they was beefing about that. And man, they took the whole city over. Do you hear what I'm telling you? They took it over completely. They say Hamtramck is literally the first all Arab city, a Muslim city, damn near in the country. You see what I'm saying? Damn near all Muslim, damn near all Arab. You know, and wait a minute, let me see. What's the percentage of Hamtramck, Michigan, as far as religion and race? 60, well, it's the most Muslims say 60 to 70% of the population is Muslim. I thought it was all, but that's damn near 60 to 70% of the population is Muslim. Yemeni, Bangladesh, you know. So yeah, they didn't went over there. They didn't went over there and put the body work on them and took their little, they didn't went over there and took their little city on over. But what people not, they silently doing it now. You know what I'm saying? They start, because you're not aware of the process. They get in there and they get to affecting certain areas. You see what I'm saying? Where, Dearborn, and I know y'all, got areas, y'all familiar with, but they got a lot of mayors. I know the mayor of Hamtramck, Montgomery Township in New Jersey, the mayor of Cincinnati, got a Muslim family heritage. Yeah, so a lot of them is already, and then you got statewide, you got some Muslim attorney general of Minnesota, lieutenant governor of Virginia. You see, Yeah, they easing in there. Y'all worry about and that's what I'm talking about. While y'all worry about the ones at the bottom, you don't see what's happening right in because you don't know. Because they move in silence until they get uh 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 till they until they assume power. They stay quiet. Y'all, of course, y'all know Ilhan Omar. You got Minnesota. Then you got Rashida. What is her name? Tlaib, Michigan. House of Representatives. These is representatives. Andre Carson, Indiana. The second Muslim ever elected to Congress. Then you got Latif Semin, one of the newest member. Latif Semin, one of the newest members of the House. So, but see, what's happening, that's what happened over there in Europe. They got in there so goddamn deep. You feel what I'm saying? That they can't even get them up out of there. Do you know that they got areas in London and areas of France where they under uh Islamic law, that they enforce their own laws in that area. You know what I'm saying? Sharia law. So I mean, that's crazy, that they didn't allow them to get in there, thinking that they want power. And when they get in, and so imagine that, allowing them to have Sharia law in certain areas of London and shit like that. I mean, you think they're gonna let you have black power? You think they're gonna let you have some black power laws over in this motherfucker somewhere? No, they ain't gonna let you have no, but you too busy worried about, those that's not in power. They didn't went in there, and especially in Minnesota, they didn't went in there and milk billions out of Minnesota. They didn't went over there and milk billions out of, and so that's very. And then you think about going to war, overseas and shit with Iran and other Islamic Islamic nation. I think that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump and shit is now is very close to Saudi Arabia. They have been close, but now they in the pocket. And Saudi Arabia is just like Iran when it come to pushing that global Islamic agenda. The only thing is that Saudi Arabia is pushing this uh was it the you got the Shiite and the Sunni. They pushing the Sunni agenda, while Iran is pushing the Shiite agenda. And they come in with their Qurans, no different. They look at the, Gideon and shit. They put that shit wherever they can put it. They don't put them in. I don't think I seen them in the hotels or nothing. And so Gideon got a contract with the hotels, but they Saudi Arabia sends out so many Qurans, and I don't know what the process is with Iran, but they got a agenda, for a global Islamic empire, a global Islamic empire. And that's what I'm clear about, you know. People talking about the enemy, nigga, they see you as an infidel. I done been, affiliated with it, Islam from, very early times, in my teenage years. And I read the books and I know what their agenda is. I know what their agenda is, and they not gonna stray away from that. Even if they play a chameleon, at the end of the day, they about a global Islamic empire. Whether it be Sunni, whether it be Shiite, and they probably gonna war with each other, and but that's your two biggest faction. But the fact that they over here silently gaining power, in a lot of areas, that most definitely got to be focused on. It most definitely got to be focused on. It's one thing, I understand, saying, but when they become orthodox, it's one thing, them orthodox Muslims, man, listen here, man, you can look at Africa and you can see what they did to Africa, man, and you already know what the blueprint is for your ass. So you can figure it out however you want. Most of them niggas that's in it, they in a very safe place, whether they in America or wherever they at. But they know when they get ready to go to Mecca, how them damn Saudis is very racist, that they don't allow a lot of blacks to come in, especially if they're coming from large nations, black nations like Nigeria and things of that nature, because they come in there deep. They come in there deep. And so you can and they done banned a lot of their ass from coming in. So you got to know the agenda. Y'all too focused on one motherfucker. Ain't none of these motherfuckers your friend. Not one. And all of them want to use your ass as a doormat, regardless. And so when motherfuckers say the oppressor, which one? That's what I want to know. Which one you talking about? you know, because it depends on what region of the world you're in. But anyway, I want you to keep focused on that. That they are trying to gain authority over here, and so unless you ready to get rug burns on your forehead, and you look up and nigga, and in 50 years or less, it might not even take that long, 30 years, you know what I'm saying? And you'll see that they got a nice piece of power, where they can push their agenda in certain areas in the United States. And whether they take it all over, they can get enclaves in an area, such as up there especially, like I say, Detroit in that area is one of the strongholds. Matter of fact, Dearborn, Michigan is the capital of Islamic agendas outside of the Middle East. Dearborn, Michigan is the capital of the Arab Islamic agenda outside of the Middle East. Period. You see? So you talking about power. You know what I'm saying? So you see Donald Trump sitting down when he with any black African leaders. Which one? You seen Ramaphosa, but he wanted to stun on Ramaphosa down there in South Africa. He wanted to stun on him about the so-called genocide of whites down there. But anyway, so you see that they aligning themselves with the Arabs. So I want to see if you think they're gonna deport the Arabs? Now we're gonna see. I want to hear that. You think they're gonna deport the Arabs? Okay, then. You think they're gonna you come on. And you need Saudi Arabia, you need the United Arab Emirates, you need Oman and Kuwait and Jordan. You think they're gonna deport the Arabs? You think they're gonna even mention the Arabs? Well, I heard something about Syria, but they ain't they over there putting body work on them. That's why they getting the fuck up out of there. They over there putting body work on them. So they getting their ass up out of there because they see them as Iranian proxies. But anyway, family, we'll be black. We're gonna speak on this again before the night up. Get with the general Patreon, that link right there in the chat. Make sure y'all get over there and get that work. You feel me? General Seti, Etsy, One Stop, also KingSeti.com. And I'll see y'all black here in a minute. Boom. Black power.